This is a Film Stories original podcast. Welcome back everyone to the Xcast. The truth is in here. I'm Tony Black, your host, and I'm presenting here an episode that went out to patrons a few years ago, but it ties in nicely to our episode coverage of Season 10's Babylon, which you will have heard by now with Kurt North and Darren Mooney discussing the episode in depth. But a while back for the Patreon tier, we did, that's we, as in me, Carl and Cathy Glinski, Cathy G, the legend that is, we did a commentary track for Babylon. And we had a lot of fun talking about an episode I certainly think is dreadful, to be honest, but we had a great time discussing it and unpicking it. So we thought we'd add that as a little bit of an extra for you today. So enjoy. You will get the instructions once we get past the intro for how you listen to this while watching the episode. So sit back, have some fun, and enjoy our commentary for Babylon. With me today for this is Carl Sweeney. Hello.
Yeah, hello Tony. How's it going?
Oh, I'm all right. I've got a gin. I'm all prepared. This is what's going to get me through. And along with us for the ride is Cathy Glinski. How are you, Cathy?
I'm good, Tony. How are you?
I'm all right. Like I say, I've got gin. What are your drinks of choice for this? Have you come prepared like me?
I've got some peppermint tea.
Just a glass of orange squash because I'm actually 5 years old. You know.
Well, you know what, right?
Babylon is all the stimulation I need.
Well, yeah. Before we count everyone in, because obviously with commentaries, we've done a couple of these before. Carl did one with Sarah, I think Paige, and Sarah did one. But the gist is, you put Babylon on. Keep the sound fairly low on it, and you'll hear us talk over it. So we're going to count you in. So when we'll count you down 3, 2, 1, and when we press play, that's your cue to press play. That's basically how it's going to work. But before we get into that, before we do that, it's best to point out that this whole commentary came about thanks to the wonderful voters on the basement. Cheers, guys, for voting Babylon as the patron's choice to be talked about. Carl is, a relative fan of Babylon. I am not, shall we say. And Cathy, you're probably in the middle, I guess. So
there are parts I love and parts I don't, yeah.
Right, perfect. So we've kind of got all three bases covered here. So that just sets the scene for the discussion to come, I think. Okay, so seconds out, ding ding. Get to your places. Right, Cathy, you're the ref. And see who comes out of this alive. So, you guys ready? We're watching on different... are we all watching on Amazon Prime, or are we doing this?
Yeah, I'm on Amazon Prime. Yeah,
we're all on Prime. Now, you don't have to be watching on Prime, guys. Just queue up Babylon, queue up your Season 10 Blu-rays, DVDs, Amazon, whatever, digital file. All the same, all works the same. And on 3, we're going to get started, and we're going to do this. Okay,
yes.
So, are we ready, everyone?
Yes.
Woo! Okay. 3, 2, 1, play.
Here we go.
There we go. Okay. God is the greatest.
Right, listen, my basic thing on Babylon, I just want to clear this up. It's
you're getting straight in there, right?
Yeah. It's Cathy. Now, listen, me and you, we can form a pincer movement and destroy Tony's argument here. I think we're quite close, actually. It's not that I think it's a brilliant episode. It's not that at all. It's that I think it's an interesting episode. And I think you could find, 30 episodes of The X-Files that are less interesting than this. I'd rather watch this than Trevor or Alpha or insert unremarkable standalone hero of choice, That's basically where I'm coming from. It's not that I think it's a masterpiece or anything like that.
And there are two scenes I adore, and the rest I cringe. But it's interesting, and that's a really good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, I a lot of awful things are interesting. That's very true. The Holocaust is interesting. I'm not a fan.
Less than a minute in, and we're evoking the Holocaust. Yeah.
This is what happens when you have gin. So. Yeah,
it's just incredibly tone deaf. He's trying to do something, and he just does it in the exactly wrong way.
Well, this is it. I think that he's actually so Calla's intentions, I think, are quite, he's quite well intentioned, but the shame is he's reproducing all these negative, harmful stereotypes to do it, and he's telling this story in a very muddled way, so nobody knows what he's going on about. That's the basic thing. So like here we've got the Islamic bomber. I think his name is Shiraz. Is that right?
Yeah.
So a guy of Middle Eastern descent, bearded. So it's playing into all these things we've seen before. And it's just, this is a show that never did stuff like this. It wasn't really concerned with this world of Islamic fundamentalism, mainly because it wasn't on air. It went off there in 2002, I suppose.
Right.
But yeah, that's what I think. I think that his heart was in the right place, but he needed somebody to. Well, they shouldn't have made this episode. I'll confess. I don't think with a 6-episode season 10, you shouldn't be doing stuff like this.
No. That was my first reaction. By the end of it, I was like, 6? Are you serious? 6 episodes, and this is one of them. This is crazy. Although, I've just noticed now, Cathy, you're the American amongst us. Obviously, he was eating a sandwich. Now, is that peanut butter and jam? He was eating
peanut butter and jelly.
And jelly. Okay, is that a thing? Is that a thing?
A very American thing. That's what he's trying to show.
Is it nice,
boy?
Is it nice that?
What do you mean?
Is it a nice taste?
Show him eating that?
Well,
that would be the best thing in the world.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. That's right. Yeah. Because he looks like he's enjoying it. It's his last meal, isn't it? It's his last meal.
Yeah.
Peanut butter, jelly, and milk before he goes off to do what we're about to see him do, which is
it's a very childhood thing. So it really is contrasting, showing him as a boy and then going off to do this.
Given how unsubtle the rest of the episode is, I'm surprised he wasn't munching on like an all-American apple pie or something.
Or a cheeseburger. Well, I guess that wouldn't happen, but yeah.
This is horrible, though, isn't it? I mean, look, the body's flailing around. This struck me when I watched it again earlier. I was like, oh, that's awful. That's, that I'll say that for this, that vividly captures the aftermath of something horrible like this.
It does. I suppose the thing is, it's not immediately evident where the X-file is it, from this teaser?
No.
It's kind of like, what's going on? Yeah.
It feels like an episode of 24 or Homeland at this point.
Yeah.
Like, okay, horrible event, but is the weird thing that he was eating a sandwich we don't recognise abroad? Is it a weird thing? Is it? There can't be. So who knows? Truth is out there.
Right. So one of the reviews I saw of Babylon, I can't remember who wrote it after it aired, but it said that, basically Carter's trying to tell a screwball comedy about a suicide bomber. And I want to like these kind of bantery scenes that are in this episode more than I do, because I just don't think the dialogue is that funny. But this one is okay, I suppose.
I think that David and Gillian just really nailed their characters in this one. I like their tone, even though the dialogue isn't great. I think that they really got this perfectly.
Well, we've got it the best of both worlds here, because we've got the sound off, so we don't have to hear the dialogue, but we can look at them.
We can look at their faces. Yeah. I really believed them as Mulder and Scully here.
I do agree with that, actually. Like this scene, even though it's a bit crazy what they're talking about, the trumpets from the Bible and things like that. It's a bit of a wacky idea. I agree with that. When I was watching it, I was thinking, yeah, okay, they are in character. They are, they are having this kind of back and forth, and for that reason, it is enjoyable in that sense. Even if what they're talking about is bonkers.
And the nice little nod to the pilot, isn't there, with the FBI's most unwanted line? Yeah.
But is that like is this whole thing not fan service or weird sort of meta fan service in the worst possible way? I mean, having a line like that
is the best possible way.
Is it? Is that in the best possible? I don't know. And these two, I mean, come on.
Oh my
Miller and Einstein. I mean,
there's nothing more annoying than Einstein. I'm sorry.
She's horrible.
I'm
She's
so
horrible.
glad
Isn't
that was turned off.
She's horrible.
Yeah, well, Cathy,
she's just over the top annoying. I can't stand her.
yeah, well, Cathy said it perfectly on the roundtable that went out recently that, you know, she's too annoying and he's too boring. And I agree, to be fair.
That's true.
But the reason it's not that I like them, but I think a lot of fans sort of felt these were like an existential threat to Mulder and Scully. They were being lined up to replace them. And I just don't think that's what Carter was trying to do. Now, granted, I've got no idea what he was trying to do. I just don't think he was trying to kind of move Mulder and Scully aside, you know what I mean? I think this is more to do with his interest in things like doppelgangers and stuff like that. But I'm not saying they fit for this episode, but they fit better in this episode than they do in a ostensibly more serious episode like My Struggle 2, I think. I think they should have been a one-off. That we should never have seen them again, I don't think.
We should never have seen them again.
Yeah.
I could stomach them a little better in My Struggle 2, but there's not much I like about that episode at all.
Yeah. But and the thing with Einstein, so it's really odd because I used to really like 6 Feet Under, and Lauren Ambrose played Claire Fisher in that series, and I never felt like her acting was a problem on that show. I thought she was pretty good, actually. So I can only assume that Carter was kind of directing her in this way, make it broad, make it big.
Well, I think every time I say I don't like Einstein, people tell me, but Lauren Ambrose is wonderful in blah, 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 blah. And I've never seen her in anything else, but that's what I'm judging is what I'm seeing.
What you've seen here. Yeah.
I can't
stand it. Thing is, it's not that necessarily she's bad in this. It's not that she's actually, I think, quite good in the role she's playing. It's just the role she's playing is this sort of really awfully shrewish kind of picky version of Scully, the kind of Scully that we never saw Gillian Anderson play. The kind of Scully that would irritate you within 2 episodes and you wouldn't bother watching the show again.
Well, I think that in season 1, if you look at some of those early episodes, I mean, she wasn't as annoying as this, but Scully was a bit more straightforwardly characterized as a bit of a foil, wasn't she? So
I guess
I don't know if he's kind of calling back to that. I'm not really sure. It might be a commentary on what he sees as like the standard of characterization in modern TV or something. I don't really know. I mean, the episode doesn't make it clear, I don't think.
No, it's a weird sort of, reflect. It's like it's a reflection of them both, but at the same time, it's like this whole episode sort of feels meta. It feels like it's removed from the reality of the show, in that it doesn't quite fit with everything. It feels like maybe he was on magic mushrooms when he was making this because it doesn't fit with with everything else, even with some of the other theories that season 10 or 11 aren't canon and all this kind of thing. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about how this doesn't seem to fit within the reality. I mean, what are the odds of these two walking into that office?
No, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, but I think he knows it's ridiculous, and that's what you're talking about in terms of the comedic side of it and how it's supposed to be a comedy. It's supposed to be some sort of meta commentary lampoon, but it's never really very funny. It's like it's a joke only he gets, Chris Carter.
Yeah, and that's actually why I kind of find it interesting that, the show's been off the air for a long time, so we've seen the movie and we've seen a few episodes of this return. Something like this seems to give you an insight into the kind of things Carter's been thinking about, in the intervening years. And I'm not sure I sort of like what we find, but it's fascinating nonetheless. Yeah. I do like the call back to Home Again that we just saw with Scully's mum's, whatever it was.
Yeah, well, that's true. I think as well, the Mulder and Einstein stuff works better than the Scully and Miller stuff. I feel like there's
Miller, there's just nothing there.
Nothing there.
It's quite bland. So
yeah, he's really boring. Whereas at least these two, it's relatively entertaining seeing her get increasingly wound up by Mulder. And in that sense that it feels like he's intentionally winding her up. I mean, this whole thing feels like it's a game that Mulder and Scully are playing as well. Like they've decided to muck about with these two and go, right, let's have a bit of fun. We've got like some Islamophobic. We've got some bombers going around. We've got some people dying, but let's have a bit of fun. Let's prank these two. It's like what?
Which is really horrible considering the case they're working.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they've been lighthearted on some pretty serious cases before. I mean, they joke all the way through Home, for example, don't they? But I think his point is about polarization, isn't it? So you need these polar opposites, and you can't really do it with Mulder and Scully themselves anymore. So I guess that's why he's introduced these kind of odd carbon copies that are extreme versions of them, one-dimensional versions. But yeah, all this stuff that's coming up about, like, they talk about mugwump or whatever, and it's just not funny. And it should be. No. If it was, the scene would.
There's one line in this scene coming up that's really, really good.
Really?
It's when he tells her to sit down and shut up.
Yeah, reactions like, what? What did you just say? But that's the thing. It's so talky. Like, it's such a talky episode. It's the kind of... It's so indulgent. It's the kind of episode you'd never, ever get away with if you were most other shows. You'd never get away with this. Nobody would let you do this. Yeah,
and again, it's back to the 6-episode thing, isn't it? That this was the time when the series needed to come back all guns blazing, and there were going to be new people watching who need to figure out what the X-Files is. And this is episode 5 of 6. It was filmed as episode 4, wasn't it? Actually, and if it had been a 13-episode run or a 20-episode run or something, maybe there's room for like an oddball experiment. But no, not in 6. I don't think.
This is just beyond oddball, though, isn't it? It's really sort of in really questionable taste, like this whole thing. Like it really does feel like he has blinkers on when he's making this episode to really tackle this kind of subject. And again, it's one of those things that feels the X-Files was always quite good at doing things that weren't necessarily too on the nose, real world in some respects. There was always an angle to it that was a little bit, I don't know, specific.
Like removed.
Yeah. Whereas this, okay, you could say that the whole magic mushrooms trip so you can communicate with him in a coma. What even am I saying? Like, what even is this story? But like, you could say that's removed, but at the same time, you've got actual suicide bombing going on. You've got people flailing out of buildings, burning to death. You've got, like I say, it feels like an episode of Homeland or something at the same time. It's like, what is it? What is it?
I think the problem is that his insights, such as they are just not that profound, and the episode would dearly love us to believe that they are.
Yeah.
But I think the overall message is supposed to be that, if we listen to each other, if we communicate, we can make things better. But like I said, it reproduces some questionable things in the telling of that story. And I just don't think Carter was plugged in enough to this subject. It feels like when people are, when rock stars are kind of past their prime and they're trying to reproduce their magic from when they were younger, and it's not quite there anymore. And I hate to say that about Chris Carter because, a lot of respect and admiration for him. But I guess a boxer making a comeback would be the analogy. When a boxer makes a comeback and they've kind of lost a step.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like to me.
What even is a mugwump? Sorry,
I never heard that term before. I thought maybe it was some kind of reference that I just wasn't getting, but yeah. I think Carter's intentions. He just needed someone around him to tell him this is not a good idea. That this is not a subject to play with this way. This is not a way. If you want to tackle this subject, this is not how to do it. And what were you thinking about the dance sequence? I mean,
I thought you liked the dance sequence.
I love the dance sequence. I live for the dance sequence. But really, in this episode, it's just...
Yeah, well, let me tell you then, because I'm supposed to be the Babylon lover. So let me tell you one of the things I like about it. It's that I actually think that Carter's direction was stronger in season 10 than his writing in all his episodes, really. So he finds some nice ways to shoot stuff here, and I'm thinking mainly of the end sequence with Mulder and Scully on the porch, I think.
Yeah, that is nicely done, actually. That is nicely shot. Yeah,
so if you're able to compartmentalize and separate out the story and the narrative and the dialogue from the kind of the camera placement, yeah.
So Babylon is good, Carl, if you take away the story, the script.
Well, no, I'll tell you.
You focus on the dance and the last scene. It's beautiful. And the banter in the first time they're in the office.
Yeah. Actually, the other thing I like is that I realised that Chris Carter's iPod Shuffle must be quite similar to mine, because there's stuff in here like Miranda Lambert and Tom Waits and Ron Sexsmith. And it's the kind of stuff I listen to too. Yeah, well, not the special living ears. That seemed a bit more questionable to me. But yeah, I like some of the music choices. Yeah, Achy Breaky Heart.
That's a classic. That's a classic, to be fair. I can break it off. You know, he's like, yeah. There we go. So off she goes.
So we get some really caricatures of characters, don't we? With like there's a nurse that comes up quite for instance, and these I think they're like Homeland Security agents who come in and stuff like that. Yeah, and just cardboard characters, you know.
Yeah, in order to really, really ham-fistedly sort of put in some Islamophobia here and some, you know, bureaucratic obstruction there, and it's like, well, just find a better way. Find a better way of doing this. You know, don't make it about, you know. I mean, this shouldn't have been. I don't understand why this was a Muslim terrorist. I mean, it feels weirdly out of date now. This, in a strange way, in terms of how how American society is, I think, and how things have developed over the last 3 years. You know, it feels like
it just feeds into all the hatred that's out there. It just fuels the stereotypes, which is really unfortunate because he was trying to do the opposite. But if the only time you show a Muslim person in a TV show he's a terrorist, all you're doing is feeding the stereotypes. He just didn't get that point, you know.
There were a couple of nicer touches, but they sort of blink and you miss it. So later we see the group of terrorists and they're actually multiracial, you know, but it goes by so fast that I think most viewers would miss it, you know, and I think the more obvious stereotyping is what really lands, you know, sadly.
And showing multiracial terrorists doesn't change the fact that every Muslim you see in a TV show in America is a terrorist. It's just just the wrong message to send.
It still kind of softens it a little, because I think the thing you see in shows like 24 is they're always of like the Arabic, Middle Eastern descent, bearded. So I think the visual presentation does matter a bit. But I think I think I agreed basically. Yeah.
So one of those Homeland Security dudes is named Eric Brecker. Agent Brem, his name is, and he's been in a few previous X-Files over the years. Back in the old days, he was in Demons. He played an admitting officer. I know you can remember that character. An important character. He played. And even better, he played the dark suited man #1 in Christmas Carol and Emily.
Yeah, that's right.
Of course, the dark suited man #1. And he was in a couple of Millenniums as well, Thin White Line and Paper Dove. So he's legacy. He's an OG Vancouverite.
Good stuff.
So
here we are,
Texas.
Welcome to Texas. Yeah,
tax dollars at work in the background there.
Yeah. So when I first saw this episode, I'd heard all the negative response basically, so I was kind of primed for it. And I think when you hear that something's really terrible.
Sorry, can I just point out? Sorry, Carl. Where that says "Welcome to Texas," that's so blatantly. We know it's not Texas, but that's the worst kind of paint. You know, stick some letters on that says "Welcome to Texas." Sorry, that's just quite comical.
I'm just saying that when you hear something's terrible, often you kind of have a slightly softer opinion of it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I felt.
Well, I saw it as it aired, hadn't heard anything, didn't know what to expect, had no idea Mulder would be dancing, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Well, we're nearly there with that, aren't we? Because he's got the trip coming up very soon. But I'm
really excited about this.
Because every time I used to watch these episodes, I used to get them from a friend. And I used to watch them before I went to work. So it was something like 7 a.m. My fiance at the time, who's not really watching much of the X-Files, this was on like as we were getting ready for work. You imagine watching this at 7 a.m. with your partner who's never really seen the X-Files. And the moment that dance kicks in, she was like, "What is this? Like, what? Haven't you told me this is like the best show of all time?" I'm like, "It is. It is, honestly, right?" But this was one.
No, you're right. Yeah.
You know,
that's kind of how I feel when I watch stuff like the Dreamland mirror sequence. You know, I know exactly what you're referring to.
Come on.
Just like that.
Is
cheeks flushing with embarrassment, you know.
What?
Yeah.
That's a great sequence. How can you not enjoy David Duchovny and Michael McKean doing the dance from Duck Soup.
I actually prefer it is, yeah. Well, I prefer this achy breaky heart sequence, I must say, because that moment where we're not there yet, but when Mil does the backflip, I actually, I should felt ashamed of myself for laughing.
That was admittedly quite funny. I did laugh at that today.
Yeah,
fine. Here she is, chuckles, the nurse.
You're right, though. It is a very what's the word? It's like very locked down episode, isn't it? They don't go very many places. There's a lot of stuff inside in hospitals or other interior locations. There's not much of a sense of scale, really. Now, in some ways, that's good because these other season 10 episodes seemed kind of rushed in some ways, didn't they? But this one and Were Monster, even if you don't like the story, it doesn't seem kind of overly cluttered, I don't think, compared to something like Home Again or Founder's Mutation, perhaps.
Well, Home Again was 2 episodes in one. It should have been. It didn't. They didn't fit really together properly. And Founder's Mutation was. I think Founder's Mutation is probably the strongest episode of. If you take away We're Monster, it's probably the strongest episode that's straight laced of the season. But there's so few that it's hard to really pick anything out that isn't written by Darren Morgan that you would really put on a par with anything else. But this was. I just can't. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate this. I was watching it today. I was thinking, it's not terrible. Like, it's not terrible. I think when I first watched it, I was like, this is awful because it wasn't. But and I haven't watched it since then. I haven't watched it since like 2016. Oh yeah, I've not watched it since today. So it's not terrible, but it is just really. Oh, come on, Cathy. You know how much I hate this. I hated this, right? And I
have to give it another chance, right? I watched Followers a lot of times, and I hated that first much of the time.
Well, you see, this didn't after me, I think. But, like, it's not as bad. I'll give it this. It's not as bad as I remember, but it's still bad.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think I'd be like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 for this, and the 6 would be generous, to be honest.
Yeah. If I had to rate the whole episode, that's where I'd go. There are some scenes I would give a 10.
Okay.
And others, I would say no, 1.
I would probably flip that number round, Cathy. So give it a 0-1. No, I'd probably give it like, it's not Excelsis Day, okay, right?
No,
I'd say it's probably about a 3. This one, you know what I mean? But it's just so catastrophically misjudged, and this. Yeah, what's he doing? Like, sticking his tongue out. She's being Islamophobic and everything like that. And Einstein's saying, all right, see you later, bye, you big racist. And then Mulder's pulling his tongue out. Like,
showing her she's taking the pill so she knows to leave.
It's still silly.
Come on. It makes total sense.
I'm probably picking at it now. I am probably picking at it.
Now, I hate to get superficial, but I think David Duchovny looked a lot better in season 11 than he did in season 10. Yeah, and I don't know what the difference was, but yeah.
They dyed his hair too dark in this. It didn't look natural. They put him in clothes that didn't quite fit right. Season 11, Mulder was,
Yeah.
Point. Yeah.
He looked younger in season 11. Weird.
Yeah, he did. He's been working out. Let's not go there. Okay.
This scene of him walking down the corridor.
Here we go.
High-fiving passers-by. This is great stuff.
So is this an achy breaky heart? Yeah, is it? This is
the Miranda.
This is something bad. Yeah. So they must have had fun doing this, though. I mean, they must have had a laugh.
Yeah,
he's clearly having a good time. Well, I'd love to have been there for Chris Carter's direction.
Yeah.
Like, right, just look around, start grinning, Dave. No, yeah. Here we go.
To be fair, if he had any doubts about this dance sequence, Duchovny, you can't tell. He's committed, isn't he?
This scene, right there. That's the one.
In fairness, I do wonder watching this. It is quite fun. Maybe all shows would benefit from something like this. Maybe they should do that in Game of Thrones, like in this last series. Maybe they should just start line dancing. Just
the show needs one episode where they just for no reason whatsoever
just break into this.
There you go. Yeah.
That leg movement is. Oh, look.
Oh, man.
Hey,
I guess, man.
that's a backflip.
I hate the word, frankly.
So, yeah, I don't.
Oh, no. Oh, yay, gunman, right? But, and Skinner being really camp. But there's a lot of lascivious shots here, isn't there? I mean, this really struck. What is this?
What are you talking about, Tony? No idea what you mean.
Let's go back to Mulder shaking his butt.
Yeah, we get Einstein, don't we, in the S&M gear soon?
I mean, is this, I'm presuming this is all a nod to Mulder's porn fixation, right? It's got to be, hasn't it? Like, otherwise, this is just really bizarre. Like, really bizarre. Or
Ever
is it
since what he thinks Texas is like.
Or is it? Or I suppose it's a spoof, like of rap videos and things like that. I guess, isn't it? It's that kind of culture, money, girls. I don't know. So but now he's on. This is all a bit sort of kill switch, first person shooter, isn't it? With Ambrose being all a bit kinky, I guess.
Yeah.
But the table the table feels like it's Dwayne Barry there.
Yeah, well, Jose Chung, we saw that kind of... Yeah, exactly.
Oh, here he is. Old Smokey. What do we think about this? I mean, obviously, everyone had seen Smoking Man in My Struggle, and I think a lot of people were excited about seeing William B. Davis here. Like, was it disappointing?
This scene adds nothing to his story.
Well, ultimately, I'm more bothered by his miraculous recovery, I think, in My Struggle 1. Yeah. I can take or leave this stuff, but overall, I think it was a mistake to bring him back in the manner they did, I'm afraid, sadly.
Yeah. This is a weird scene, isn't it? This whole, like, it's because it's the River Styx, isn't it? It's essentially the ferryman on the River Styx. But I mean, do you guys are probably brighter than me. Do you know what the specific significance of that sort of image, that sort of sequence?
With the mother holding him, or
just the whole thing.
Yeah, it's Mary holding Christ, right? The Pietà. It's really muddled imagery.
Yeah, it's a mix.
The son is dying and the mother's holding him. And I guess the son is giving Mulder the answer to save others. So maybe that would be why they're going with the Christ figure there.
This is kind of back to the basic point that his intentions are kind of well-intentioned but muddled. So it's the muddledness that means we're all kind of scratching our heads at the point at which we should be sort of saying, oh, that's what he's trying to tell us, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do have to say Gillian Anderson was great in this episode. She really, and I struggled to find Scully in a lot of the revival, but I thought she was really good here.
Yeah, she was actually. She did.
Yeah, I think so.
It took her a few episodes in season 10, particularly to get there.
That's Skinner. This is a perfect scene.
Yeah,
his reaction, everything he said. This is a perfect scene. It really is. He couldn't have done this any better.
And he was so underused in season 10 overall. Yeah. Like, he's barely in it, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he should have been in it at all, to be honest, unless they had something interesting for him to do. I'm sad to say. I know Sarah might be listening and might be shouting at me, but it just seemed like a very conservative choice, didn't it? You know, bring back the Smoking Man, bring back Skinner in exactly the same role, and I wanted to see a bit of risk-taking or at least something worthwhile for these characters, you know, and I don't think they really did, sadly. At least not till season 11, which was a bit better.
Got it much more interesting.
Yeah, I think so. But you're right, and Mitch Pileggi does play this scene really well. I think that's
hanging up our spurs for good. I mean, that is adorable. And here she's annoying again.
Trying to convince him he didn't take the shrooms.
Yeah.
And didn't see the gunman.
Oh.
And the gunmen were, I mean, again, it was one of those things that everyone was like, oh, the lone gunmen are coming back. What?
Yeah, no, that was.
And then you're like, oh, it's like, is that it?
Yeah, because it was quite hyped up in the sort of marketing materials, wasn't it? I seem to recall, and you know, that's a bit cheeky, I think, to do that.
And they had to move heaven and earth to find Dean Hagland.
Yeah,
He'd moved to Australia. They didn't know. Yeah. They didn't know where he was to get him back. But yeah.
Or maybe that's just what he told them when he heard he was in the achy breaky part scene.
Could have been. Could have been.
Yeah. So what do you think about the 50 Shades of Bad? Wait. Oh dear.
No comment.
Yeah.
I think
with Mulder in the wheelchair, he's very, very Mulder-like.
Yeah.
I just get flashes of.
You mean the way he looks, Cathy, or just
the way he looks, the way he spots the mother, and he realizes something's going on, and he's got the answer, and he can, it's one of those intuitive leaps that he's known for. I thought that was really effective.
Why was he in the wheelchair though? If he could just get up and.
Because anytime you leave the hospital, you have to be wheeled out.
Do you?
Yeah, it's really fun.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Is it weird that now
it's a liability thing? I was like, okay, we got you to the door. Yeah, you're on your own.
Is it weird that I kind of want to go into hospital now just to have that? Because that sounds great, just getting wheeled about.
No, it's not. It's embarrassing.
So here we have the mother and child reunion, don't we, with Shiraz's mom? And emotional stuff, guys, isn't it?
It's just weird. It's just weird. I mean, I just don't understand.
We're supposed to, because she's saying, I didn't raise you this way, and he then.
So isn't there, there's the suggestion that Shiraz had a last minute change of heart, isn't there? But it's quite hard. It's quite hard to ascertain whether he did or not. I think is what I remember. Like, did he?
If he told Mulder where this terrorist cell would be found, and so that would be a last minute change of heart, so that they could stop it. I guess.
Yeah. But this is all really sort of a clumsy way to go, oh, Muslims aren't bad, really, at this point. And you're like, well, I'm not buying it at this. You haven't sold this enough to me. And
because she turns up very late in the episode.
Yeah. And it's that whole thing of that in a really good X-File, you've got two really interesting even though Mulder's almost always right, you have two interesting possibilities as to what happens and what this all means and things like that. Whereas in this one, Scully has a good go at it, trying to explain the electrical impulses and all this kind of thing. But I don't really feel like it's a really strange. And maybe Carter's just a genius and we just don't get it. It's like I don't know. Maybe he is. I do feel watching this to some degree. There are elements of this I don't comprehend properly.
Yeah.
And that does annoy me in a way. I mean, I'm not saying that I should get everything. I'm not the brightest man in the room by any stretch of the imagination. But at the same time, I'm like, I always felt like with this one again, there is something I'm missing, like that I should know or I should connect, and I don't. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
No, I think it is because, Chris Knowles always uses the word fractal, doesn't he, to talk about Carter and his kind of strange thinking.
Fractal.
Yeah, and it's true. But on a functional level, it had to be quite a thin story here, so we could have a 5-minute long scene on the porch at the end, I suppose.
Yeah, which is the best scene.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take that away.
We needed the dance scene in the middle.
And the dance fight, yeah. But this scene where Mulder's trying to decipher the words, that's just embarrassing.
Yeah, babble. And then Scully's like, what, like in ancient Babylon? Oh, come on.
That was like...
Come on, Scully.
For the audience. Yeah.
Babylon the hotel. Babylon the hotel? Like, what? Actually, Hotel Babylon is a TV show in the UK.
Right, yeah.
So maybe this should have been a crossover with that. I've never seen it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But Here we go. So, yeah, I can see what you mean, Carl, a little bit. It doesn't. There is a mix of features there, I think. But yeah, like you say, you barely notice it. Like you've got to sort of watch it a few times and then.
And like Cathy says, it's still not. It's not like a panacea to all the episode's problems. You know what I mean? It's,
yeah.
But they did have Carter talked in interviews at the time about they had a consultant on the set to make sure that nothing in the episode was offensive. I mean, that worked well, obviously. Yeah. It does sound like they did take some measures to kind of foresee these problems.
What it was
yeah.
before. I don't know.
This is the kind of part in the episode where I like when the music kicks in. It's a bit it's smoother running to the end of the episode now, I think.
Yeah, from here on out, I'm kind of happy. Well,
I don't buy that Miller would have this on his Spotify list, though.
No, and I don't buy that Mulder would have the Lumineers either.
Yeah. I listen to Lumineers all the time.
I mean, I know we don't like Miller. I know we don't know Miller. I mean, but Ron Sexsmith, really? Look, he's like what, 28? Like,
yeah, I think Mulder would listen to him, and Miller would have the Lumineers. But I think maybe that's the point. I don't know.
You're right about that. I think really it's the lyrics of the Lumineers song that we're supposed to focus on.
Yeah.
What do we? No, that's a good point, I think. Yeah, because this is the thing with Carr got all this flack about splitting them up and the platonic comment, but then he writes a scene where Scully pulls up and walks towards Mulder as the lyrics about "You're my sweetheart" or whatever it is, you know.
To me, was absolutely Chris Carter saying, "Guys, it's okay. They're going to be okay. They're going to be back together." He didn't know there was going to be a season 11. He didn't know he was going to have a chance to show it. This was it. He was saying they belong to each other. They're each other's sweetheart. It's okay. Yeah. And I took it that way. I'm sure that's what he was thinking.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, basically, yeah.
What about these two, though? I mean, like, what's he trying to say here? Has Einstein had some sort of epiphany that, like, belief is okay, and that believing in weirdness is fine? Like,
she believes in anything but the power of words. Which, if she didn't get that before, I mean, she's a doctor. I mean, she's not too bright. Yeah, it's just
Which is ironic because she says she's just a distant relative of Albert Einstein, so she should be pretty clever. Like, again, this is why I don't believe this is real. I don't believe that these people really exist, which is why when they did crop up in the struggles, it was really strange because they seemed removed from anything else. And I think Carter
they made more sense in my struggle too.
Yeah, you know,
I think they make more sense here because they sort of feel like fantasy figures or something in a weird way, and this feels like that kind of episode. Whereas My Struggle 2, we thought at first was legit, didn't we? So strange.
But then they're in My Struggle 3 though, aren't they? So like
it has very
in one scene,
very offhand way. Yeah.
So they do exist in the real world, which
we didn't really see
anything about them in My Struggle 3.
Yeah,
My Struggle 2 didn't really happen.
We didn't see nothing in My Struggle 3 because Einstein's annoyingness wasn't evident, was it? But we just didn't see enough, or maybe we saw just about enough, depending on your perspective. Yeah.
Okay, now this scene.
Yeah, this is really good stuff.
It is good.
I watched repeatedly every single day after it aired for months. Every day. I would watch it over and over. So much so that my daughter threatened an intervention. I just think it's lovely. I don't care what they're saying. I love the music. I love watching it.
Yeah, it's really well put together. And this is what, you know, this, even if this was the only thing you liked in the episode, it's still a good 5-minute stretch or whatever. And there are plenty of episodes with very little to hold your interest. So that's kind of where I always was coming from, that at least there's this and a couple of other things that we quite like in the episode, you know.
And really, I mean, this is enough. Like I didn't watch the entire episode every night. I watched this scene every night.
Yeah. It is lovely. It's really nicely shot as well. There's a real nice haze to it. It feels like it's a hazy afternoon that they're just having a chat. Is this also the same house in I Want to Believe?
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, they call it the Unremarkable House, isn't that what they call it? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a nice bit of continuity. But like,
I think both the actors are really good here, honestly. And like the dialogue's a really tough sell. but they just look, they're into it. They look good.
They're just so natural together. They're happy together. They're comfortable together. They might not be completely reconciled, but look at this.
I think it is as well the most, I think, relaxed and they've probably been in this season, actually. You know, if you take away the fact that they understood how to do a Darren Morgan script and they were good in that, this is the most Mulder and Scully since the original run, you know? Season 7, maybe.
And it's because it's quite a thin episode in terms of plot that they get a little bit of room to do this, I think. You know, whereas something like My Struggle 1 is just kind of helter-skelter.
Yeah.
Barreling through the plot. This contrasts quite nicely in that respect, I think.
It is nice. It is nice just to chill with them. Yeah. You know, in this sense, you know, it doesn't matter what they're saying, even though they're talking gobbledygook in places. It doesn't matter, right? Like, who cares? Yeah. It's very relaxing. But what actually are they talking about? Because it would be quite neat to know, really. Like,
yes.
Going back to that thing with the horns in the beginning and the music, that if you just listen. This is the whole conversation. But she said, "Talk to me, Mulder," and he said, "Walk with me, Scully." That's really all you need to know about this conversation.
Yeah.
When I first saw it, I felt like this stuff about like mother love or whatever. I felt like it was kind of fitted in with some of the broader themes of the season, which was slowly reintroducing the William element, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which kind of reemerges at the end of My Struggle 2.
Could be,
but
yeah,
in quite a clumsy, embarrassing way. But
yeah.
And I think actually, if this is Carter's idea on how we combat terrorism, I think it's absurdly simplistic, to be honest. But still,
I'm not sure he's going to be hired by the CIA or anyone in a hurry, is he? Like, you know what I mean? Let's solve fundamentalism by opening our hearts. This is a nice shot, though. This is
oh, it's beautiful.
This is good. A nice big Earth shot.
Like
shiny marble.
Yeah, and to be fair, the Lumineer song does work well over this.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
It was a good choice, even if it wouldn't be Mulder's first choice.
Yeah. But there we go. So
we did it.
Yeah.
So, guys, we've overcome intolerance and we found common ground that Babylon is somewhere in the middle, I think. That's what I'm taking away from this conversation. Intolerance has been ground down.
I do think, actually, I expected to come out of this angrier and more full of frustration than I did. Like, I was surprised, actually. I came away with it thinking, this is rubbish, but I've quite enjoyed it in a weird way. Yeah. And I didn't quite expect that, really. I suspect it's because removed from the fact it's episode 5 of 6. What are they doing? Yeah. I want a proper X-File. Removed from that, you can sort of appreciate it for, like you say, some of the moments it does have.
Yeah, like you say, now we can put it in its proper place, can't we? Season 11 came along, and there was lots to enjoy there, so it doesn't seem quite as egregious now, does it? In hindsight,
that's very true.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'd say that's a draw then, Cole.
Yeah. We'll have to reconvene on first-person shooter one day, Tony.
Oh, no.
Play that one to the death, yeah.
Flip that one over, because I quite like that. So, yeah.
Do you like that one?
Yeah. But again, I haven't watched it in years. So maybe I'll watch it again and be really angry by it. Who knows? Yeah. Well, maybe we'll have to all come together and do that one. So you can referee again, Cathy. Although, mind you, sounds like you'll be with Carl, so I'll be outnumbered. Yeah. Oh, dear. Well, it's been fun. It has actually been fun. Like, watching Babylon on its own isn't exactly fun, but it's been fun doing this. So, like, thanks for coming on this commentary, guys. It's been really nice to speak to you both. Really hope you enjoyed that guys that commentary. That was a lot of fun to do, even though it was a few years ago. So it's great to repurpose that one out there. We'll be back soon for our coverage of My Struggle 2, which will also contain a rather significant XCast announcement. So do tune in for that episode. But as always, thanks for listening. And remember, trust no one. The XCast, an X-Files podcast, was created by Tony Black and is produced and hosted by Sarah Blair, Kurt North, and Carl Sweeney.
You can find the podcast across social media via linktree/the XCast. That's linktr.ee/the XCast. And join our Facebook group, The X-Files Basement, the XCast podcast fan group.
Don't forget, you can support the show by becoming a member on Patreon. Our patrons get early access to episodes, behind-the-scenes chats with our hosts and our thriving community of X-Files, and other premium interviews and specials. To find out more and subscribe, you can go to patreon.com/the XCast. That's patreon.com/the XCast.
We are also part of the Film Stories podcast network, full of popular culture shows about film, television and beyond, including our Millennium series, The Time Is Now, a Millennium podcast. You can find all of our shows at www.filmstories.co.uk, alongside an array of great writing on film, television, gaming, and more.
Thanks for listening, and remember, deny everything.